It is the Tuesday, August 8th edition of studentloanjustice.org. If you're new to the group, welcome. We're glad that you found us. Please tell everyone you know about this group. We are the first, only, largest, and again, only true, absolutely grassroots group, absolutely fighting only and absolutely for student loan justice. That means two things. It means returning bankruptcy to the loans. It means canceling all, not $20,000, not $10,000, all federally owned student loans by executive order, by the way. And I can talk about that in a while. That first thing I said, bankruptcy, is by far and away the most important, guys. We've been studying this issue for 18 years now. We've broken some of the most important research on the student loan topic since that time. We've been featured top story on 60 Minutes. We've broken news at the Chronicle of Higher Education, the New York Times, the Wall Street Journal, many other places. We know a few things about the student loan problem. So you heard it here first. Couple of announcements. Please donate. I'm sorry, guys, but I have to start with a pitch for donations. We need 27 people to donate $20 or more by the end of the week. Hopefully sooner than later, guys. As I said, we're a strictly nonpartisan, strictly grassroots group. We survive only on gift income, personal gifts from you to me. And we don't require much, as I think you can tell, $600 a week, a little more than that. But we cannot do this without your financial support, guys. We will disappear. We will dry up and blow away in the wind without your financial support. So, yeah, and if you've been donating lately, I salute you. If you've never donated or haven't donated in a while, please turn over a new leaf and just please help, because this group is pretty important. In fact, it was this group that started the push for loan cancellation by executive order in the public conversation. And it was this group through which the entire student loan problem will actually, not pretend, actually be solved. And that begins with getting the leverage of bankruptcy return. I can't say that strongly enough. Anyways, hopefully you'll get it. Hear me now, believe me later, I guess. If you have any questions or comments and you're watching us on YouTube or Twitter live, I'm very happy to respond to your comments as I see them. In fact, I'm going to dial them in right now. It's been a very busy week for us, guys. We are urging everyone to get us into meetings with their House representatives. We met with 1.5 today. We were supposed to meet with 2 today. I met with 1. The other one, unfortunately, I've done this twice in the past several weeks, so I should apologize to Joanne Kearns in Florida. I got my time wrong. I'm on Wisconsin time, which is Central Time. And I'm just not used to being on Central Time, apparently. So anyways, I missed one meeting, but I followed up on that meeting with an email. You'll be happy to know, Joanna. So I hope you did good, and I'm sorry. I am sorry. That was my fault. But we met with another one. We also did a couple of interviews today with national news publications. We expect one was the state of Indiana. The other one was a very well-known national publication. So we expect both of those stories to come out probably in the next week, I would imagine. All this stuff matters, guys. We're a working, fighting group. We're not here to entertain you. You're not better than us, by the way. You need to be helping us. If you're in this group, you need to be helping us. You need to be getting a meeting at a minimum with your House rep. Bring us into the meeting. Look down and you can see the whole thing about that. Get us into a meeting with your House rep. Give them our contact info. Tell them that you want to bring us into the meeting. We can do most or all of the talking if we need to. No problem. It's what we're good at. It's what we're here for. If you set them up, we will knock them down. But you got to set them up because you're a constituent and we're not. We can't just call and say, yeah, I want to talk to the judiciary staffer of Congressman Burgess Owens. No, I don't live in Utah. I don't live anywhere near Utah. Ain't going to happen. You have to set those meetings up for us. And so thanks to everybody who's been doing that. If you have not done that, you need to do that. We've met with probably 40 or 50 members of Congress so far. We need to meet with many, many, many more, including your member of Congress, member of the House, and quite frankly, both of your senators as well. But I'm going to put that off for now. Right now, we're focusing on the House of Representatives. So tonight's topic, the Democrats are we're a fiercely nonpartisan group, number one. The Democrats betrayed us last session in a very vicious and blatant way. So we have been talking very bad about the Democrats lately. And these blue no matter who partisan hacks or whatever, these DNC I don't know who they are. They've been really attacking us viciously lately. I've been called a Republican and a Republican plant probably a dozen times in the past 2 weeks. And that really bothers me. So for equal time, equal measure, to prove that I'm not a Republican plant. The topic of today's live stream is how stupid are the Republicans? So I don't know if you're living and breathing and you have student loans, you've probably noticed that the Republicans are evil on the student loan issue. It kind of goes without saying. I don't know. For me, it does anyways. Maybe I'm too close to it. But let me just say, we've been doing this for 18 years, guys. And historically, the Republicans have opposed nearly every good thing for student loan borrowers that has been floated in Congress, maybe introduced as a bill, you name it. And, on through the past 18 years to the current day, where Joe Biden's lame student loan cancellation gimmick that sucked in the first place was knocked down by Republican conservative groups. Well, here again today we see the Cato Institute and just an alphabet, a hodgepodge of right-leaning NGOs in and around Washington, D.C. They talk about lawfare and how, you Democrats are so mean because you're suing us. Yeah, the Republicans pretty much invented lawfare. They are suing and suing and suing and suing even more and then suing again to stop Joe Biden's student loan cancellation, which sucked in the first place, to stop Joe Biden's SAVE plan, the income-driven repayment plan, which absolutely sucks anyways. Most recently, they're suing to stop the people who are supposed to get their loans canceled because they were defrauded by their schools through the borrower defense to repayment rule. On and on and on. And guys, we actually don't care very much about any of those things because, like I said, Joe Biden's cancellation sucked in the first place. All the income-driven repayment plans are cruel jokes where the mass majority of borrowers are being disqualified out of them in the first place. The borrower's defense, those claims should have been passed many years ago. It's been a decades-long soap opera, those borrower defense claims. It's just, the whole thing is just nonsense, guys. The whole thing is the uniparty pimping this problem and doing everything they can to maintain the status quo. So you're not going to see us weigh in strongly on those stupid lawsuits. We weighed in a little bit on the Supreme Court thing because we did start the conversation. We started the whole push for loan cancellation by executive order. But how stupid are the Republicans? The reason this is important is because the Republicans are knowingly and happily and almost proudly declaring war on student loan borrowers across the country. Now, I almost can't mention the myriad number of ways that is stupid. It's beyond asinine ridiculous. It's not only stupid, it's borderline like suicidal politically for the Republicans. Because here's the facts about student loans, guys. It's not a Democrat problem. The majority of student loan borrowers are either Republican or independent. I kid you not. It's either slightly more than half are either Republican or independent, depending on the poll that you look at. But, more recent Pew data from 2020 shows that 70% of people who've been to college, so that's both graduates and non-graduates, 70% of those people are either Republican or independent. So that is the student loan borrower pool. So it might be slightly more to the left for student loan borrowers versus college attendees. I don't know. But the point is, most student loan borrowers, we can safely say, are either Republican or independent. And so just the optics alone of these ridiculous, lame, I would say frivolous lawsuits do nothing but make the Republicans look more and more evil in the eyes of the electorate. And this is their base that we're talking about. 1 in 5 of all U.S. adults have student loans. And as I said, 70% of them, a majority of them, are either Republican or independent. This is the Republican base. And by the way, 85% of all borrowers were never going to be able to repay their loans even before the pandemic. So 85%, for more than 4 out of 5 of all student loan borrowers, most of whom are Republican or independent, are losing sleep over their student loans. And to turn on the TV and constantly see this never-ending stream of Republican politicians, Republican think tanks, the Cato Institute, the Job Creators Network, Grover Norquist, I could go on and on and on. All that does is insults and alienates the student loan borrowers in the country who are being absolutely wrecked by their mostly federal student loans. It is, if you're trying to lose elections, you should do exactly what the Republicans are doing. And I'm going to share my screen with you for a minute just so we can go through one example. So let us look at the state of Georgia. In fact, let me show you the bigger, here's the big picture, guys. See this map here? Those are the 10 quote unquote best states versus the 10 worst states in average student loan debt per borrower versus the average earnings per citizen of those states. And the worst hurt states aren't, Massachusetts, California, Oregon and Washington, these liberal coastal elitist states. No. Au contraire. The worst hurt states is the entire South. And that map does not lie. Here, we can look at the actual numbers for yourself. And here's another way to look at that, look at slightly different data. So this map looks at the state budget versus the student loan debt in that state versus the state budget of that state. That's kind of a useful comparison to make, a useful metric to look at, if for no other reason, just because people involved in state government, like governors and state assemblymen and congressmen and so forth, Congress members, they understand the state budget, and that is a very, 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 very large and important number to those people. So, and again, look at the worst states in red. With the exception of maybe Michigan and Illinois, almost every one of those states are Republican. Maybe Colorado is a little bit of a, but again, yeah, it's Texas, it's the entire South almost. It's Missouri, it's Indiana, it's Ohio. You get the picture. New Hampshire, I don't know. New Hampshire is kind of a battleground state, but these are Republican states these are Republican strongholds that are being hurt the worst. And let's look at a very specific example. Let's look at the state of Georgia. So on November 3rd, 2020, so the last presidential election, more than 1.4 million voters in Georgia, which the total population is only around, I think, a little more than 10 million people. There were 1.4 million voters in Georgia who were behind on their loans. They were never going to be able to repay their loans. They were losing sleep over their loans. And 70, probably more than 70% of them, being as how it's Georgia, were either Republican or independent. So how did that Georgia election go in 2020? Like, why was that Georgia election even close in the first place? Well, I can tell you, student loans. That's why. And look at other battleground states. Here's our map again. Look at other close states. Pennsylvania is actually not shown, but Pennsylvania is is very close to being one of the worst states. It didn't quite make the cut. Pennsylvania's terrible. Nevada, how'd that election go? Went to Democrats. North Carolina, how'd that go? That almost went to Democrats. As we know, Georgia, how did Georgia go? Well, I don't have to tell you. So this problem, and also think about the midterm elections. I'm going to kill my share screen now. Think about the midterm elections. What happened to the red wave? Well, what happened to the red wave was that there were 38 million people in the country, most of whom are Republican or independent, and they were thinking about the elections. And every time they saw a Republican talking about student loans, the Republican was insulting them and saying, these student loan deadbeats, and why should my tax dollars pay for your student loans, and you lazy, liberal, young, entitled snowflakes, and which is not true, by the way, obviously, because what I just said. That is what Republican and independent student loan borrowers saw and heard. So if the Republicans are trying to lose elections by ever wider margins on the student loan issue, they are doing a heck of a job. And quite frankly, I think the Democrats are just sitting there pinching themselves because they're like, wow, we pretty much don't have to do anything except for say friendly things to student loan borrowers, and then do these feckless, lame, never even designed to work, pretty much designed to fail loan cancellation gimmicks. We can talk a happy talk, and those voters have nowhere else to go. So the Democrats are really just sitting in the catbird seat. They almost don't have to do anything. And the Republicans serve us up to them, the Democrats, on a platter. So stupidity is everywhere around the student loan issue, but particularly with the Republicans. And that has always been true. It's very true today. It's getting far worse for the Republicans as the student loan problem gets far worse. And in fact, as the student loan system falls off the cliff, which it is doing as we speak, the Republicans are looking at losses like I think nothing maybe that we've ever before seen. Remember, guys, we, the student loan borrowers, are the largest bipartisan, largely politically untethered and very desperate, in other words, student loans is at or near the top of our list, political issues. We're pretty much the largest untethered politically voting bloc in modern American history, certainly my entire lifetime. 38 million people who vote and who are losing sleep about one issue, that is a massive muscle at the polls. So maybe in fairness, I should say, in fairness to the Republicans, many conservatives and Republicans are finally starting to come around. I said at the top of this broadcast, the core of this problem is bankruptcy. It really is. It always has been. Well, thankfully, I'm here to report that last session, we saw two Republican senators, Josh Hawley and John Cornyn, co-sponsor a very good bankruptcy bill, a bipartisan bankruptcy bill with Senator Dick Durbin. The bill was called S-2598, return bankruptcy to student loans, which is absolutely critical, guys. Unless and until we get the leverage of bankruptcy return, guys, everything we do is futile. We can be begging this president or the next forever. And until we get the leverage of bankruptcy on our side, we're not going to see anything good. We're going to see more of the nonsense that we've already seen. I hope you're finally starting to understand that. I know a lot of people out there are like, I don't want to file for bankruptcy. Bankruptcy sucks. I want my loans canceled. Nobody wants to file for bankruptcy. That's not even the point. The point is that we, the people, have got to have the power the leverage of bankruptcy returned to us as it exists for all other loans, for all other borrowers. That's what we need, guys. And we're not going to see anything good happen with your student loans, no matter what you want to see happen. Not going to happen until we get bankruptcy rates back. So on that note, last week, Ron DeSantis called for the return of bankruptcy protections to student loans. We've seen MAGA Republicans, as I said, like Josh Hawley, Matt Gaetz, hardcore, I don't know what you call them, right-wing, wingnut conservatives or something like Mike Cernovich, if you know who that is, call for the return of bankruptcy protections to student loans. We've seen articles from the Federalist Society, from the Cato Institute, from George Mason, and some of these people are absolute evil monsters on the student loan cancellation issue, like the Cato Institute, by the way. George Mason University, the National Review, I said the Federalist Society. Many, many, many people in conservative circles are calling for the return of bankruptcy protections to student loans. So what's missing, guys, is us. And I'm going to keep this live stream pretty short tonight. I'll go through a couple of your comments if I have time. But I'm going to keep it short tonight. This all comes down to you helping us, guys. The one ingredient, the one missing ingredient with this group. And we're a huge group, by the way. On paper, we have 1.4 million members. That's all the people who signed our petition, who are on our Facebook group, Twitter, our email, and our other platforms. 1.4 million people. But guys, I'm here to tell you that the chances are you're not one of the people who is actually helping us, because on any given day, I only see a few hundred people doing anything. So there's probably maybe only 1,000 people doing anything every day. That's what, one, is that 1/1000%? I think that is. That's like 1/10 of 1% of the people on this group actually doing anything. And that is the fastest way to be conquered and enslaved by these loans. These are your loans. This is your problem. And this is a working, fighting group. And you're not better than us. And you need to be helping. And the minimum that you'll do, if you actually care about solving your sitting there student loan problem, is helping us. And to everybody out there who has been helping, you know, I salute you. Is it not amazing what we've been able to get done just in the past 3.5 years? We have moved absolute mountains with nothing more than a hardcore, smallish group, probably no more than 5,000 or 10,000 people in total, actually really doing anything. But guys, we need more people helping. That's just the fact. And we will be wrecked unless we get that help. The muscle we have to flex is so fucking huge, guys. But that only matters when you sitting there help us flex it. We don't want wallflowers in this group. We don't need people sitting there waiting and watching and worrying and wondering and wringing their hands, wondering what are they going to do with student loans. Well, I'll tell you what they are going to do with student loans. They are going to continue to screw you and me. They are going to put their own kids through college for free on your ass, on your back. They are going to buy second and third homes and maybe even build themselves their own luxury golf course on your ass. That's what they are going to do with student loans. That's not the question you should be asking. The question you should be asking yourself is, what am I going to do to fight this unconstitutional, unconscionable, immoral, nationally threatening loan scam, which is exactly what it is. You sitting there does nothing for you, does nothing good for the country. You helping us fight does everything. Getting us into a meeting with your House rep is the first and best thing you will do. Doing our daily actions is, quite frankly, the minimum that you should be doing on a daily basis. These are your loans. This is your problem. And if you're like 85% of everyone with student loans, you were never going to be able to repay your loans even before the pandemic. So don't be distracted and confused and hypnotized by all the bullshit out there, which is 98% of everything you see and hear about student loans. You know, even the other so-called student advocacy groups that are out there, they're fake, guys. They're fake. They're AstroTurf. They're full of shit. They're not to be believed. We on this group are the thought leaders. We are the moving force. We are, as I said, the driver behind the student loan cancellation thing that we're looking at right now. We are the sole reason that we have had, and hopefully will have soon, meaningful bankruptcy legislation to fight for. We need you doing our daily actions. It's fun to do them. I think most people in our group will tell you it feels good to be fighting this fight. It feels good to be doing our daily actions. You need a Twitter account, by the way. Get a Twitter account. But those are what you, as an individual human being, breathing person, just like I am, just like everybody in our group that's what you would be doing if you actually wanted to help. Sitting here on your ass watching me talk does not solve this problem for you. You know, in the past 20 minutes that I've been talking, you could have filled out an online form with your House rep asking for a meeting with their judiciary staffer, or just anybody from their staff, but their judiciary staffer would be best. So, okay, I'm looking for your questions, comments now. I'm going to keep it very short, as I said. Hey, Gordon Wayne Watts is with us from Florida. Hey, Gordon. Gordon says, everyone, and Gordon has been fighting the fight. Make no mistake. He's been in the trenches getting his knuckles muddy and bloody, and we salute you for that, Gordon. He's gotten probably as many or maybe more now, nearly as many phone calls as I have gotten onto C-SPAN. But more than that, Gordon has gotten into conversations with people like Virginia Fox, the worst person in the world on student loans, Rush Limbaugh, rest in peace, I guess, Rush Limbaugh. You know Rush Limbaugh. Gordon says, everyone, do your phone calls, tweets, emails, visits, in all caps, Facebook comments, etc. But also ask your neighbors to do so too. That's right, guys. You got to spread the word about this group. We don't have a budget. We don't have an advertising budget, a marketing budget. We don't have a PR team at our beck and call. We don't have $1 million funding like the other fake AstroTurf corporate, complete fake groups have, who overwhelm the zeitgeist with their fucking chatter and their noise and their nonsense. We don't have any of that stuff, guys. All we have are people, normal, living, breathing people, which especially and uniquely includes you. And Gordon has very kindly pasted a very useful link on how to contact your House reps. You know, most House reps have a meeting request form on their websites. That's the easiest way. But if all else fails, just call them. Call them on the phone. And don't be put off by the junior staffers who answer the phone. Those people are kids. You're probably not a kid. These people are answering the phones at Congress, and most of the staffers are kids. They're probably 5 years at most out of college. So, hey, Mary Templeton, how are you, Mary? Mary says they acknowledge fraud and no one is talking about this. You know, the proven fraud, proven omissions in and around and through the entire federal student loan program and the private student loan program are legendary. We've documented many instances of fraud, of omissions, of false statements. You name it, guys. This thing is a racket, dudes. I wrote the very first book, Beacon Press, 2009, to be critical of the student loan problem. And I called it very appropriately, the student loan scam. It's a very good reason for that, guys. It is a scam. It is run by a bunch of con artists, up to and including the people at the Department of Education and all of their adjutants, or their all of their accessories in and around Washington, D.C. I would maybe include people from the U.S. Treasury. It is a con that would make mafia envious. It would make them blush. It would make Enron executives blush. But I digress. That's a longer conversation. We can talk about the lies in and around the student loan program for many hours, quite frankly. Mary also says, can they stop reneging on the email for forgiveness to defraud borrowers by IDR plan? Yeah. That seems the way the Biden administration is doing things, Mary. They make an announcement that sounds good, and they do it in a way like Biden could have just canceled loans and then announced that he had canceled loans. He could do that. He could call the secretary and say, cancel these loans. We'll worry about the lawsuits later. Biden never does that. The way they like to do these things is they put out a press release that sounds great and everybody goes, yay. And then they get sued. And then 6 months or a year later, after all the bullshit, after the swamp, and these lawfare nonsense Republican people do what they do, all of a sudden we're left with nothing. That is the way it has gone for the past 18 years that we've been doing this, ladies and gentlemen. And that is the way it will go until we get the constitutional right of bankruptcy returned to us. We do not have to put up with this bullshit, ladies and gentlemen. And quite frankly, when repayments resume in October, I hope that nobody pays. In my humble opinion, it's not only unwise, it's unpatriotic to ever feed another dollar of your hard-earned money into this lending beast. And if you do, you will be in the tiny minority of all people. My best estimate is that when they turn these loans back on, less than 20% of all borrowers will resume paying. The lending system is finished, guys. It's done. It's catastrophically failed. The only question is whether the bad guys are able to keep this zombieing along a little further and keep harming us and keep sucking money out of us or not. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is completely up to you and me and all the student loan borrowers out there. We own this lending system. We control this lending system. We can delete this lending system from existence in a fortnight if we choose to. We have ultimately all the power. We hold all the gold, guys. Don't forget that. So, okay, guys, I'm sorry. I cannot get to all your comments. I apologize. We're on a roll, ladies and gentlemen. That thing about DeSantis that I said earlier, that's very meaningful. The thing I said about many, many other Republicans, including something I didn't mention, Republican Thomas Massey from Kentucky did a poll on his Twitter page. Doesn't sound important, is important. 20,000 people, mostly of his own base, answered this poll. The question was, should student loans be dischargeable in bankruptcy? And there was like another related question about should the colleges be held accountable? And the answer was 70% yes versus 30% no. That is a landslide poll. That is a poll that tells the tale. So even among largely Republican people, Thomas Massey's base, whoever those people are, 70% believes that student loans should be dischargeable in bankruptcy. So as I said, guys, the only thing missing is you. The only thing missing is you. The only question that's important is, when are you going to get off your ass? Get us into a meeting with your member of the House of Representatives. You can probably do it right now if they have an online meeting request form. And what are you going to do to help? So we've never been in a better position, ladies and gentlemen. That is true. But it all depends on you. So please help us. Please help us. You're not better than us. These are your loans. This is your problem. We're doing exactly the right things at exactly the right time. There's no better, more efficient use of your time helping us fight, I mean. So please don't forget that. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Good luck. God bless. Do our daily actions. Get us into a meeting with your house rep. Godspeed, everyone.